Now, despite it being a very wet April this year, we're still in drought conditions, which means the land is still quite dry. So picking the right plant is really what it's all about. I'm joined by James here at John Toomers, who is the plant manager. Now, you know all about the right kind of plants that will survive in the drought conditions. Maybe talk us through a few that you've put out for us here today.
I think it's quite important that we still pick plants for the right situation.
Right.
Not just have all drought-resistant plants everywhere, because obviously the soil is not always going to be bone dry.
Right.
I mean, there's a couple of plants here, for example, are classic plants for dry area, the convolvulus and the cistus, but they really do need hot, dry situations.
Now, also, you did mention before that with all of these plants, much as they might be drought-resistant, it is important that you water them and help them initially when you first plant them.
Yes, a lot of drought-resistant plants are drought-resistant because they have deep roots that find water beneath the soil. So a young plant's going to have to get that deep root down first, and then it becomes drought-resistant when it's got the roots deeper. Now,
I recognise these are your fairly standard geraniums, aren't they? And they quite like the dry, do they?
Yeah, they're very much an intermediate plant. They will need a helping hand occasionally, but they've got quite strong deep roots eventually and create lovely ground cover and will be very resilient.
And of course they keep flowering as well, which is nice. Now, I recognise this, but what makes me a little nervous is that they're lovely, but I've got a fairly small garden and these look like they could get rather enormous.
Yeah, well, pines are one of my favourites, and they do really give that sort of tropical dry look, and they are extremely resilient for dry weather. Your point about them growing a bit larger, it's very easy this time of year to break off this new growth, which is called candles. And
right.
You can slow them down by just snapping these pieces off, and whenever you think it's getting too big, you can do that.
And it won't upset the plant?
No, that's all right. just slow it down. Yes.
Now, I recognise the ferns here. And again, ferns you normally associate with sort of damp areas. You know, New Zealand has loads of ferns and so on. But you actually say they work quite well in dry areas
Most plants do prefer it on the moister side. But some of the ferns are surprisingly tolerant of dry soil. So you get this lovely luxuriant look, but with a drier soil. There's the soft shield fern, which can make about 3 foot, is a classic. And the common polypody, strange name.
Say that again.
Common polypody.
Common polypody, okay.
Yes. And this is a lower growing fern,
perfect.
but again, very good for droughty soils.
Now, I recognise a couple of really hardy plants here that you were recommending as things that would pretty well grow in any conditions anywhere almost.
Yes, quite well-known plants, but classics nonetheless. The Alchemilla mollis.
Yeah.
As you can see, the water is actually trapped today on the leaves, hairy leaves. And again, deep-rooted, lovely yellow, frothy flowers. Then, of course, you've got the Aquilegia or granny bonnets, again, very good.
Brilliant. Well, some great tips. And as always, if you come down to Toomers, these are the guys who will be able to help you, guide you through your selection and pick the right plant for the right soil type and the right weather. Thank you very much indeed, James.
Thank you.